Hello, you are back in Prikarbhatia. My name is Ina and I've only been living here for a few years, but I'm so in love with this mountainous region that I want as many people as possible to know about it and its peculiarities. By the way, you can help me with this too. All you need to do is subscribe to this channel, like the latest episode, and leave any comments under it. This will help a lot in promotion, and even more people will learn about life in mountain village. Another morning in the village, I came again to visit my friends Halyna and her children. They have been living here since birth and know everything about the life of the villagers and their daily routine. It is especially hard in a mountain village in winter. The climate here is harsher than in the lowlands. The temperature in the mountains is consistently several degrees lower than on the plains. For comparison, when the temperature in Korsiv, which is located in the mountains, drops to minus 10 degrees Celsius, in Colombia, where there are no mountains yet, it can be only minus 2 to minus 5 degrees, and these cities are separated by only 30 kilometers. The snow stays here much longer and it falls here than it does down there. Therefore, mountain residents have many more everyday problems and tasks. In the morning they need to heat the stove, cook food, feed the cattle, birds and other animals, clean up, clear the snow in the yard and bring in hay. This is not a complete list of all the things to do. But today we will start with cooking. I try to help Halyna whenever possible, so now I am happy to peel vegetables. Today we will need a lot of potatoes. The fire in the stove is crackling almost around the clock. The house is warm and comfortable, and this is a special aroma that can only be felt in a rural hut. Many people associate it with childhood, when there were much fewer troubles and problems, when you could spend all day at your grandmother's house in the village on vacation. But now I'm an adult, so I have to cook delicious dinner, or at least help with it. I have already peeled and washed the potatoes thoroughly. Now I have to grate them. All this has to be done manually. If there was a food processor here, this process would take a few minutes, but with the regular grater, it takes much longer. But I am not complaining. On the contrary, I think it's useful. The muscles in my arm are very tensing. And given that Halyna's family is large, she has to peel a lot of potatoes for dinner. Vasya, Halyna's son, has his own daily duties. They include working the mare Zorka. Not only does he have to work here, but he also has to exercise her a lot, so that her muscles don't atrophy over the winter. That's why Vasyl saddled her up in a sleigh to take her for a ride around the village. And not just to write, but to solve some important issues. The boy has been able to harness a mare since he was a child. He clearly understands how to do it and why. And I have already grated almost all the potatoes, but now I have to prepare the sauce for today's meal. It will be mushroom sauce, made from wild mushrooms. There are a lot of them here in the Carpathians. The locals know very well which mushrooms to pick and which ones to avoid. The mushrooms picking season begins in the fall. Of course, porcini mushrooms are the most prized, but boletus mushrooms, buttercups, umbrellas, and other types of mushrooms are also collected here. Then they are processed in different ways: salted, fried, dried. Dried mushrooms are stored for a long time and can be used to make many interesting dishes. In fact, we are using them today. To make them soft, they need to be soaked in cool water. It doesn't take much time. In the meantime, you can add 2 raw eggs, salt, ground pepper to taste, and a little flour to the potatoes. Connoisseurs of Ukrainian cuisine have already realized that duruny is a very popular dish in Prikarpatia for lunch. These are potato pancakes fried in a pan. Duruny are cooked in all regions of Ukraine, but for some reason their peculiarity popular here. Traditionally, whenever I have a free minute, Halyna and I drink tea. It's very important to give yourself time to relax and have a pleasant conversation. In winter, when it is still cold outside, it is so nice to drink warm tea in a heated house. These moments are remembered for a lifetime. After a short rest, you can fry the pancakes. They should be thin enough to become crispy after frying, but still juicy. Not all housewives know how to make delicious pancakes, but Halyna has no problems with this. She knows exactly how big and thick the pancakes should be.
Такі файні, куди? Та що, кажу, що нога наче. Це цього лічить. якісь мені потрібні. Я таке, знаєте, люблю коніка, маті, коровку, доїть молока, таке взагалі, знаєте. Інна вдома? А вкрав я свою. Добре, ось і два.
And in separate pan, we prepare a delicious sauce for the pancakes. We fry onions and soak mushrooms. You can add cream to this frying, then the dish will be much tastier, but it's up to you. There are people who eat pancakes exclusively with sour cream, without any other sauce. In any case, it is very tasty dish that deserved attention.
Васьок, тут тільки вже на печі, кажіть, мамо. Знаю, привез, але тут. Дивіться ж нам уроки вашого оборону. А! Є це, а вже. Така зерката, так легше буде. Нехай ще трошки. Але ти не зробила це борщ? Так. Ти я буду дивитись.
Outside, Vasyl also does important things. He is skillful with jigsaw and other tools. He likes to work with wood. By the way, this type of applied art is very common here. This is not surprising because there are forests around, and historically Hutus have been able to and love woodworking. But it's time to gather at the big table with whole family to have a good meal and enjoy a delicious dinner. Potato pancakes with mushroom gravy and sour cream are delicious. You can eat them quickly and for a long time, but that's not even the most important things. What is important is the atmosphere created here by wonderful people. I sincerely thank you for spending another day with us. See you in the next episodes.
Ну,
Я виделочку набирав, да.
Я тоже давно
А
устала.
я от перчика ще
Трошечки.
бахнув. Аля, в тебе нема гарчички?
My name is Ina and I have been living here in Ivano-Frankivsk region for several years now, in a originary mountain village. I already have many friends here. Halyna and her family are almost them. Today I want to introduce you to the peculiarities of their life. Halyna's morning begins with cooking for the cattle and animals that live on the farm. They cook here traditionally on a wood-burning stove. It's lit early in the morning to not only cook but also to heat the house. And while the porridge is cooking on the stove, Halyna is busy cleaning. She has to sweep every day, and sometimes even several times. I help Halyna put wood in the stove. I have already learned how to do this. Also, a few years ago, I had no such skills. For the wood to burn quickly, it needs to be laid in the right way. It's also important to have a sufficient supply in winter. Halyna cleans not only the house but also the yard every day. The porch should always be clean. This rule applies here, regardless of the season. Meanwhile, I shovel away the snow that has fallen at night. This is also a job that I have to do every day. Sometimes it happens that 20-30 centimeters of snow falls in a few hours. So it's important to clean at least the path from the house to the stable or barn. While I'm shoveling, Halyna prepares breakfast for the cows. In winter they have an extra need for minerals, so salt is often added to their feed. In addition to feed, the cows eat leftover vegetables, peeling of potatoes, carrots, and beets. Even in winter, when it's freezing outside, cows need to work. That's why Halyna and I take them out of the barn and into the street. Of course, when there is white, cold snow instead of green, lush grass, the walks are not so pleasant for the cows, but they're happy to eat what we have prepared for them. Every cow in village has special bells around its neck. This is a kind of alarm. Very often cattle in the mountains graze freely, but thanks to the bells, the owners can hear where their cows are. And in summer, where not only cows but also sheep are brought to the mountain meadows, the melodious sounds of dozens of bells constantly spreads across the hills. Since ancient times, the Hutsuls who lived in the Ukrainian Carpathians have been engaged in sheep farming, breeding cattle, milking cows and sheep, and making cheese from milk. They also made warm woolen blankets called lizniki, which are called lizniks. These crafts are still being developed today, and almost every house in a mountain village keeps cattle. Perhaps not in the same numbers as in the past, but the traditions remain.
Не бігати. На колено. Ну, коліна взяла. На колено. Кнопка. Кнопка. Ну, зараза кинула.
Meanwhile, the cows are no longer bothered by the cold and snow. They're happy to run around the street. Now it's difficult to drive them into the stable, but Halyna and I quickly managed to get them into the stables. However, we also had to run after them, but it's not bad. At least we warmed up a little. Halyna carries hay to the stables. It's so fragrant. It's used not only as food for the cattle in winter, but also for insulating the stables. Hay harvesting begins in the spring. It's a very long, complicated process that involves all family members, but there is no other way to do it. But it's time to cook dinner. The local cuisine is very interesting. The diet is based on local products, cheese, mushrooms, vegetables. This food is nutritious, healthy and delicious. I pour water over the dried wild mushrooms to soak them. This method of storage is quick, convenient because dried mushrooms take up a little space and don't take much time to cook. Of course, the locals make such preparations on their own. The Hutsuls know very well which mushrooms are edible and which ones are better not to eat. Of course, they also make preserved here every season. Salted cucumbers are used as an independent snack in salads and in main dishes. Every housewife has her own recipe for perfect cucumbers. By the way, I already have one. Halynas are also very tasty. While I'm taking the cucumbers out of the jar, Halyna is heating cow's milk cream in a stick-warmed saucepan. You can also add butter to it to make the finished dish even more delicious. I cut cucumbers into small cubes and use a lot of them. They're cold and crispy. I just want to try them, but I hold back because I know how delicious lunch is waiting for us today. Now we need to peel a large onion. This is another ingredient that is constantly used in Hutsul cuisine. The onion must also be cut finely. It will be needed to fry. Today we are preparing some interesting local dishes that can be seen both on the festive, Christmas and everyday dinner table.
Я ставлю, нехай нагріється.
Fry the onions in oil, stirring constantly. Meanwhile, the dried mushrooms are already completely soaked. They also need to be heat-treated, but first chop them into large pieces. While the mushrooms are fried with the onions, add the corn grits to the pot with the cream. This is how banosh, a traditional Hutsul side dish, is prepared. It's not just corn porridge, because banosh is always cooked with milk or cream, and Hutsul cheese is added to it, which makes the taste of this dish incomparable. And I add squeezed garlic to the chopped cucumbers. I season this mixture with sunflower oil. This dish is called gramatika and it's often prepared here. And it's very tasty, by the way. The banosh is almost ready too. Today we will serve mushroom gravy with it. To make it even more delicious, we add a little creamy to the fried mushrooms and onions. It will be incredibly tasty.
Ні, не відкрий. Ні.
We also eat canned green beans here. However, you still have to open the can. Sometimes it can be difficult. To have a comfortable meal, you need to keep the stove burning. And to do that, you have to go outside periodically to bring firewood into the house. Today, Ed helps with this.
Ого. Да, я розумію. Трошки жало.
Там воно так як за...
And now we can all sit down at the dinner table together and enjoy a delicious meal. When you have your loved ones around, even simple food becomes incredibly tasty and delicious. Thank you for spending this day with me. See you soon. On this winter day, I again visited the family of my friend Halyna, who has lived in the village since birth. She has 3 children whom we will meet today. Large families are the norm in this area. Firstly, it's connected with the ancient traditions. Secondly, we should not forget about the religious influence. Local residents honor the church and live by God's law. Despite the fact that life in a mountain village is not easy, children grow up here happy. They know exactly what true freedom is. They live in the bosom of nature, in the middle of the majestic Carpathian Mountains. And the house is in full swing. Everyone is gathered in the kitchen, where it is very comfortable and cozy. I'm helping Halyna with the indoor flowers. My Richka, Halyna's youngest daughter, puts wood in the stove, and Halyna prepares food for the animals that live here. We have to think about dinner for this big family. I love cooking, so I'm happy to help Halyna. Today we are going to cook something very tasty and unusual. For this, we need smoked ribs. I cut them, separating the individual bones from each other. I put the ribs in a large pot filled with water and put it on the fire. We will cook a flavorful broth. Meanwhile, we need to prepare the vegetables for today's dinner. Halyna goes to the shed where potatoes, beets, carrots, and other vegetables are stored. Of course, all of these are grown here in the summer in their own garden. It's not always possible to have enough supplies for the whole winter season, but it is good that there is a cool shed where vegetables can be stored for a long time. Now I can wash, peel and cut vegetables, onions, carrots, beets. Natalia helps me. She is Halyna's eldest daughter. Now she lives abroad, but she came to visit her family on vacation. We immediately throw the peelings into the stove. They try to recycle any garbage here to dispose of it immediately. For today's meal, we also need potatoes, which need to be peeled and washed, and then cut into cubes. All this takes very little time, especially when you have helpers in the kitchen. And while I am focused on the potatoes, Natalia has already chopped all the onions. She does it very skillfully. Cabbage also appears on the kitchen table. And from the set of ingredients, it's very easy to guess what we are going to cook today. Natalia does the roasting, drains the first broth, and pours clean water over the ribs. This is necessary to make the broth clear, flavorful, and free of unnecessary impurities. Vasyl has a lot to do outside. He needs to harness his mare Zorka. She is looking forward to it. It's quite difficult for cattle in winter because they spend much less time outside than in summer. That's why Vasyl specially loads the mare to keep her fit. In summer, the mare is harnessed to a cart, and in winter she puts a sled. And the kitchen is in full swing. I think it's not secret that we cook real Ukrainian borscht today. Of course, every good housewife has her own recipe for delicious borscht. Debates about whether to add beets, beans, and smoked meats to it are ongoing. But there is no universal classical recipe for this dish. By the way, it is here in the Hutzul region that smoked pear and sometimes prunes are also added to borscht. It's definitely not a classic recipe, but these additional ingredients add a certain buoyancy. We are not going to experiment like that today. Moreover, the smoked flavor is already given to us by the ribs.
Кришкою накриваю. То кришкою в коридорі, ну там подивіться, можна. Я по дрова. А ну тут. То дотушиться і ми закинемо в це.
Все,
І
можемо
борщ.
пити чай, так?
Так, так, можемо щось перекусити, можемо щось
Так,
пити.
я якраз і чай.
Бери, бо то колачик ти так ще.
While the borscht is cooking, there is time to just drink some flavored tea in the company of your loved ones. Everyone here has their own cup. In Western Ukraine, a garnyatko is a mug for tea or coffee. For residents of other regions of the country, this word sounds unusual and sometimes even funny, but I personally quickly got used to the local dialect. Everyone chooses a drink depending on their preferences. Some people drink tea, others coffee.
Три кусочки. Та клади. Дай, клади.
But we have to get back to work. The last stage of cooking borscht is left, when you need to combine all the ingredients. The potatoes are already boiling in the broth, and soon the vegetable frying will be added. The last to be added is cabbage because it cooks very quickly. Outside, Vasyl is getting ready for a sled ride. While Halyna is feeding Zorka crackers, he quickly harnesses her. By the way, such sleds are often used in winter to make trails in the fresh snow. It is very convenient because there is no need to manually shovel snow with a shovel. It is enough to drive along a certain road, and you can walk along with path without any obstacles. But today the sled is used to bring fresh air to the stables. Maria helps her brother. In summer, hay is harvested in huge quantities. Of course, the storage places are not only located near the house, so now the hay has to be transferred from the barn to the sled, then brought to the stable and unloaded there. The children do it quickly and skillfully. Now the hay has to be well tempted and dried up so as not to lose it on the way. The townspeople have never even dreamed of such entertainment. Just imagine what a pleasure it is to ride through the mountains in a sleigh pulled by a mare, inhaling the aroma of fresh hay.
хотіла попробувати. Яке з яблука має бути? Ну, таке трошки так як кисленьке.
And the house is warm and cozy at this time, so the whole family comes back here. The borscht is almost ready, only a little wood needs to be added to the stove. Rich, delicious borscht is an ideal lunch option. It warms you perfectly in winter, gives us strength and energy. It's time to get together as a big family at the table and enjoy delicious food. And I sincerely thank you all for spending this day with us.
А як ми таке знімаємо? Це не святко? Ми тако ставаємо, туди ж не дійсно.
Що, мало перцю, так?
Мені мало. Але я переважно так люблю солене.
When it snows outside, you have to clean the porch every day, and sometimes even several times. This is in the best interest of the residents of the house, because you can quickly find yourself in a snowy prisoner if you do not clean the shovel away the snow drifts. The intensity of precipitation in mountainous area in winter is much higher than in value. This is due to the peculiarities of atmospheric pressure. That's why it's quite common in the Carpathian region to see not a single millimeter of snow on the ground in Kolomia or Ivano-Frankivsk, with the sunshine and temperatures above freezing in January, while in Kosiv or Verkhovina the snow cover is 30 to 50 centimeters. But this has its advantages. Here in the mountains you can still enjoy a real winter. The mountains in this weather are simply magical fabulous. While the wind is howling on the hills, this is peace and quiet in the forest area. It's a great time to walk, but you should always remember that winter mountains are unpredictable and do not forgive carelessness. Locals know that you can still walk on small hills here, but you shouldn't climb the high mountains in winter, especially without experience and appropriate equipment. The kitchen is warm and comfortable, the stove is well heated, and the wood is crackling, creating a special atmosphere that can only exist in winter. Of course, stoking the stove every day is also hard work. You need to keep an eye on it constantly and periodically add firewood, but you get used to it in winter. At the very least, the stove in the house gives you a certain autonomy and independence from central communications. I warmed up a bit and hurry outside again. Here in a separate shed, I need to pick up some sauerkraut for today's lunch, but I still have to get to it through the high snow drifts. The snow is still falling. It seems that it will go on forever. Also, in fact, the Highlanders do not have time to look back as spring comes. High rubber boots with insulation inside are the best footwear for the yard. You can put them on very quickly. They do not let moisture in, and they are always dry and comfortable. I have been wearing these boots for a long time. I can already be considered a real Highlander. Before entering the house from the street, I have to clean off the snow. This is a rule that I memorized very quickly. Otherwise, the house will always be wet, and we don't need that. Now we can start cooking today's dinner. Sauerkraut must first be rinsed with cold water. This way it won't be too sour. We leave it in this form for a while. And now I take out the smoked ribs and cut them into small pieces into the pot. By the way, the summer and winter cuisine of the Highlanders is very different. In summer, the local diet is full of vegetables. Tomatoes, cucumbers, zucchini, beets, and eggplants. They contain a lot of vitamins, so the locals stock up on them in advance. In summer, they also eat a lot of cheese and dairy products, but in winter, the diet is much more nutritious, with meat, cereals, and root vegetables. Today I am cooking just such a dish which gives a lot of energy and helps to keep you warm even in severe frost. Drain the first broth from the smoked ribs, then pour water back into the pot with the meat and boil it. This will make the broth clear and flavorful. Now Halyna and I are preparing the roast. I clean and chop the onions, and she takes out the lard. Now we are going to fry the bacon. To do this, you need to cut a good piece of lard into pieces and melt it into a frying pan. This is a great base for any frying. In winter, Ukrainians actively cook with lard. It is a great source of high-quality fats, which are so necessary for the functioning of the whole body. The other inhabitants of this house enjoy the snowy weather. The cows in the stable are chewing on hay non-stop, and the horse Zorka is in a hurry to go for a walk. Vasyl, Halyna's son, rides her even in winter. He knows how to harness a horse very well. He does it very quickly and skillfully. This family has both a cart and a winter sled. They are convenient for carrying hay and firewood when it is snowing outside. They can easily travel along mountain trails and roads. Zorka obediently stands and waits for her owner. She already knows that she will have to work, but she enjoys it. Also, sometimes even a horse wants to play a little naughty.
Але вже.
Meanwhile, I continue to tinker in the kitchen. The cabbage is no longer too sour and salty, and it needs to be squeezed out of excess moisture very well. It is convenient to do it with your hands. Halyna adds chopped potatoes and chopped carrots to the broth, and I fry onions with bacon. Vasyl is already back with a huge haystack. It will be enough for several days to feed both the cows and the mare. But now it all needs to be unloaded. It's good that neighbors come to help. It's much easier to work together. Meanwhile, dinner is almost ready. All that's left is to add a little corn gravy to the soup to make it even more rich and nutritious. I also add salt, pepper, and various spices to taste. The room is immediately filled with incredible aroma. Hutzul cuisine is quite simple, based on local products that have been grown here in the mountains since ancient times. Of course, these dishes are very different from Mediterranean or French cuisine, but they're incredibly tasty. The combination of ingredients here is such that each of them complements each other. The taste of the finished dish is relieved gradually, but just believe me, this soup would immediately become your favorite once you try it, and for this, you need to come to the Carpathians. We have boiled potatoes that need to be quickly peeled. They are hot and smell incredibly delicious. It immediately takes me back to my childhood. Just look at how these potatoes are steaming.
Кожному по дві. Легше завоюзовував.
Це добре, я так не зав'язав, бо не попробую.
Все. У мене останнє.
But it's time to sit down to dinner. We pour everyone a plate of fresh soup. No one refuses this dish. The ribs give off an incredible flavor, which makes the appetite wake up with renewed vigor. Everyone can add crackling or sour cream to their plate if they want, and potatoes can be eaten instead of bread. Another day in Carpathians village is over. Thank you for spending it with me.
Не класти. Ага. Бо сметаниці.
Чук-чук.
Трошки мені треба солі. І цибульку олія така добре їсти.
And today I went to visit my friends, Halyna's family again. These wonderful people have lived in Richka all their lives, and they know all the nuances of the mountain village. As always, Halyna's winter morning starts with lighting the stove. The house has to be warm in any frost. Besides, they cook on the stove. That's why firewood for the winter is harvested in the summer. Independent deforestation is prohibited here. Only those dry branches of trees that have fallen to themselves can be collected, but foresters, of which there are many, regularly carry out sanitary felling. This is also necessary for the ecosystem to be renewed, and it is here that you can order firewood in the required quantity. I really like to warm myself by the wood stove. Wood gives intense heat and very pleasant aroma. This creates a special atmosphere inside the house, but to fully enjoy it, you first need to work hard and cook dinner. This is what Halyna and I do. First, we clean and chop the vegetables. While Halyna chops the cabbage, I chop the carrots. The stove is already cooking porridge for the animals that live with Halyna. They also need hot food, so it is important to cook something tasty every day. And today I have a little helper to help me mix the chopped vegetables.
Готувати все для вареників.
Добре.
Для вареників нам не потрібно. Чи ти готуєш вареники з хлібом?
Meanwhile, Vasyl walks with Mare Zorka outside. This is part of his daily duties. Zorka already knows when he is coming and is looking forward to it. The mare behaves politely on the street. She knows very well that she has to listen to her owner. We have already cut the fresh cabbage, but today we will also need sauerkraut. Halyna follows her to the shed where the vegetables are stored and picks up a large bowl. They ferment cabbage here on their own in large volumes. A huge wooden barrel is used for this purpose. The cabbage is stored there for a long time, remaining crispy and tasty. And the kitchen is in full swing. The kids and I are preparing the roast. To do this, we heat a frying pan over the fire, pour sunflower oil into it, and I chop the onions finely. It needs to be fried well, but sauerkraut must first be washed to remove excess acid. To do this, it's enough to pour cold water over it for a few minutes. Then drain the liquid and squeeze the mixture well. Today Vasyl doesn't harness Zorka in a sleigh. He rides her on horseback. He doesn't even need a saddle. The boy is able to hold on without it. It's good to have such open space around. There are plenty of places to ride, and the scenery is pleasant to the eye. Rice sauerkraut also should be fried a little to make it even more delicious. It's important to stir it constantly so it doesn't burn. In fact, today we are making dumplings, and while the filling is cooking, we need to make the dough. The recipe is simple and trivial. We need flour, water, salt, and sunflower oil. This is the simplest, but also the most delicious unleavened dough. Kneaded by hand. This is a very important condition because it's the only way to feel how homogeneous and elastic it is. And if done correctly, the dough will not tear during cooking. When the dough is well mixed, it needs to be rolled out and cut. For this purpose, Halyna has a huge rolling board. She shows us how to do it. When you look at it from the side, it looks very simple and easy. In fact, it takes a lot of effort to roll out the dough in an even layer and then make dumplings out of it. Of course, such skills are also formed from childhood, so kids should be given the opportunity to try their hands at it. That is why little Maria is also involved in this process. In the Hutzal region, all important affairs have always been accompanied by prayer and songs. That is why the folklore is so rich here, but for such traditions to remain alive, they need to be supported, nurtured, and developed. That's why children here are taught carols, shidrivkas, and other songs from early age.
Веди, господарю, подивися на кошелу, там молочки, голова, тебе жінка чорноплава, ластівочка. Я знаю, що вона називається «Зимова казка». Цей новий рік іде, на подарунки підйомку. Та й діти катаються на ковзанах, дітвора катається на ковзанах, на лижах, санках, на кульках, сніжинки крутяться веселі, щасливий новий рік іде. Господаря викликати, веди, господарю, подивися на кошолу, там бабочки покотилися, юнаки нарядились, тебе товар без хорежі. Щедрівочка, прилетіла, ластівочка, стало собі щебетати. Там бочки покотилися, янки народились, тебе товар без хорежі, будеш мати мір хороші, а товариші, том полова, тебе жінка чорна брова.
The work goes faster when they sing. The dumplings are almost ready. We just need to cook them. Of course, they also learn to make them from a very young age. Each varenik has to be well sealed so that the filling doesn't end up in water during cooking. But they don't take long to cook. It takes about 5-7 minutes and there is a big bowl of steaming dumplings on the table.
Мало дуже.
Вася прийде.
Та їх так мало. Покласти це. О, був такий поля.
Ти їш сало?
Ні.
Ні? Ти що?
But they should be eaten with bacon. That's why Halyna takes out the salt bacon and cut it into pieces, which she will now fry in a hot frying pan. Vareniki with cabbage dressed with sour cream and bacon are the perfect winter lunch when the body needs such nutritious food.
Давай тут я спробую.
Там незручно. Ну що, давай далі?
Very soon the family will gather around the big dinner room table, and everyone will talk about how the day went and what plans they have for the future. Our whole life is made up of such pleasant moments. We should not neglect them. And handmade dumplings will definitely taste even better than store-bought ones. This is food that you put our heart and soul into. cooking dinner with the whole family. When everyone is involved in the process, everyone has certain responsibilities. It's something that brings the family very close. Children learn to help adults. They realize from an early age that any work should be respected.
Після темної води під шкірою, коли кобра закохана вона.
Ложку все початку. А інше тут будемо викладати.
Я зрозуміла, як це робити. Я не встигаю.
Ти не поспіши.
Багато, тому що воно потім розглядається.
Давай цю використаємо, а потім зробимо.
Ну точно вже капустки не вистачить.
Трошки прокрути. Угу. І останнє ось тут.
Ну просто щоб потім не додавати.
Вже багато.
Вареники довго робиться.
Meanwhile, all the dumplings are ready, so you can sit down at the table, put dinner on a plate, and enjoy a delicious meal. Everyone really like it, and in the afternoon, everyone will have a little rest and get back to other things. I sincerely thank you for spending this day with me, and I look forward to seeing you again on this channel. See you in the next episode.
Ням-ням-ням. Мені бачить смотренько.